Hi, everybody. This is Rick here. I'm going to just take a few minutes to get set up. I'm doing this endurance test on the relays at the turn of the Epoch. So I just put up this live stream. I'm just using straight camcorder to broadcast this out. I'm going to take a moment to put the links out for this. I just had to get the live stream up. Usually I use Zoom, but instead of using Zoom, I just went straight through the YouTube webcam version because what Zoom has done a couple times so far was it buffers too much and it creates a new stream. So I figured I'll just use the camcorder version or the FaceTime camera for this. Hey, Elite Trance, how you doing there? I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to show you what I got going on here behind me in just a minute. I want to get these links put up. I just had to wait for you coming back on me. Now, there might be a little bit of delay in the stream, a little bit of buffering because I have, I'm using Wi-Fi on this computer and the Wi-Fi is, yeah, it's okay, but it might buffer. So I'll tell you about the relay stress test in just a minute once I put these links out. And there we go. All right, so what do I have here? All right, this is the Digital Fortress Enclave. This is the Digital Fortress. What I have here are 5 relays over here on my left-hand side. Those are the relays running Digital Fortress that are reaching out to the world. On my right-hand side, I have the 2 block producers, DIGI and DIGI2. They're doing fantastic. They're doing great. They're operating within the parameters of the protocol, right? Like most nodes are or should be if they're configured correctly. All right. So hello, everyone. Red, green, blue. How's it going? Elite Trance. See you there, Mr. JTX. Digi is doing well. And Don Cardano. Hey, how you doing? What's going on, Mr. JTX? Thanks for great work there. All right. So here's the 2 block producers, DIGI and DIGI2. All right. Now, these guys are running on machines that have 24 gigs of RAM, 12 cores apiece on that machine that they're running on. The relays are behind me. We start them off at 16 gigs of RAM, 8 cores each, and they handled the last turn of the Epoch great. We've tested it at every Epoch turn when we did MC4 testing, and we did it on the turn of the Epoch for Cardano on the first 2 turns of the Epoch to see how well the relays hold up. And you might have heard people talking about relays at the turn of the Epoch and stuff like that. So I wanted to show you live what it's doing and also give you the opportunity to ask me questions. I'll tell you a little bit more about the Digital Fortress setup. I have my website. It's digitalfortress.online. If you haven't seen it, I have that showing over here, Digital Fortress Online. And from there, you can find links to my Telegram channel, the Digital Fortress Technical Support channel. And that channel is for technical support for people who stake to Digital Fortress. You can go there and ask questions. If you don't understand something, I can help you through it. Or my son's Count Christian could help you figure out what it is. If you're having problems with Daedalus or Yoroi, we can help you out there. It's not for stake pool support. You have the community stake pool channels. We have the official stake pool best practice channel. There's tons and tons of channels on Telegram, and they're all turning into stake pool channels. Okay, so my Digital Fortress channel is not a stake pool channel. It is for customer support, user support, delegator support, whatever you want to call it. So if people are trying to delegate and they're having problems, they can hit me up in the Digital Fortress channel and I can help them sort through it. And there's also the community tech support channel on Telegram where you can get help from community members if you're having any problems with Daedalus or Yoroi wallets. Okay, so with that out of the way, tell a little bit more about Digital Fortress. The primary server, it's a AMD Epoch Rome type server. It's a state-of-the-art server. It's an industrial grade CPU with 32 cores, 64 threads. Right now it's currently way overkill for the current. We're on Shelly. But when we designed the server, when my sons and I designed the server, we engineered it. We didn't engineer for Shelly. We engineered it for Voltaire, Basho, Gauguin, and Hydra. Okay. I've got 2 fiber lines coming to the house. I've got a third if I need it, I bring it up. And so we engineered it for Hydra and beyond. Gogan's going to be out late November, early December, and it's going to require more demanding processing load. So we can see the processing load. I'll show you that over here. Okay. It's pretty much sleeping right now. It's not doing a whole lot of anything on that little CPU thing. There's a lot of CPUs. There's 64 cores showing right there. Well, 64 threads, 32 cores, 64 threads, 64 processing units showing up over there. So massive, massive, massive horsepower. Of course, way over-engineered it because Bashoed Hydra. You know, that's what we're looking forward to. That's in the out years, probably in 2021, and I want to be ready for it, right? So we're not messing around. We want to make sure we got long-term endurance. We got all the horsepower we need. We also have a backup server. It's a 12-core, 24-thread, 64-gigabyte server, and it has all the features of the primary server that we have here. We have an entire duplicate of the 5 relays and 2 core nodes running over there on the backup server, and they're always running. They're always in sync. And I just have them not running as leaders. I just keep them at the tip in case anything happens. I can kick over to the backup really quickly, and it's ready to go without missing any downtime. We've actually run, my son Christian wrote Ansible scripts so that he'd kick off the Ansible script on this workstation here in the middle that says switch the leaders in the backup, and it will bring up the alternate as a leader. And then right before it becomes a leader, it will bring down the primaries so that we don't have twin leaders running and creating adversarial forks. Okay. All right. So let me see if we've got any questions here. Now, the key is in about 7 minutes here at 17:44 and 51 seconds, which is 21:44 and 51 seconds UTC, the Epoch is going to transition. And so the reason I'm doing this live stream is so you can see it. You can see it with your own eyes and go, oh, wow, cool. So what I did is, so Christian blocked off the port numbers on the block producers, but it doesn't really matter because the block producers are completely obscured from the internet. They are not visible on the internet whatsoever because I always do maximum security, absolute maximum security. But we just block the port numbers and say, well, just in case, right? We always do the just in case scenario to make sure maximum security. And of course, the relay port numbers are all public. And so what I have over here is relays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they are on. I hope you guys can still hear me okay. I leaned back from the mic a little. Relays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they are on the IP addresses .210, 211, 212, 213, 214. On the public IP side, those are visible to the public. They're in the global DNS system so that all the other relays out there in the world can see them and collect data from them. Now, these relays are also pointed to these block producers, and the block producers are pointed to the relays. And then these relays are pointed at everybody else's relays, as many as you can possibly get. All right. So I just wanted to help explain that so you guys understand what does this Cardano network look like? Because it's massive. The Cardano network it's global, stretched across the planet, spread across all different kinds of platforms, but you can't always visualize what does this thing look like, And there's a lot to it. It's basically you take a big giant net and wrap it around a planet. That's what it looks like. Okay. And this is just one component of that network. And I just built it as hardened as I could with absolutely as much possible horsepower as I can put into it because it pays off in the long run. It always does. I've worked with systems for many years. I work with a systems engineer. I'm on the ocean side. I'm on the oceanography side on the ocean systems engineering. And he always ups the horsepower, pretty much doubles the horsepower you need at the beginning. And by the time you're done a couple years later, you always end up using that horsepower by the time you're done building the system you're building. So yeah, I've talked to him and it's a good idea to do stuff like that. So anyway, I just want to let you guys know. All right. So where's Digi 1 and 2 at right now? So I'll tell you a little bit about that. And then we're going to take a look at these relays. All right. So Digi 1, Digi 2. Okay. Digi 1 is showing 42 blocks, 42. And if you look on Pool Tool, I have Pool Tool over here, or if you look on Ada Pools, you'll see Digi has 40. Okay. And so there were, out of the 42 blocks this epoch, 40 blocks were on chain and 2 blocks were in a slot battle. And you can see that on Pool Tool under orphans. Okay, if you look under orphans on Pool Tool, and you'll see, okay, those are orphaned, okay, which is exactly within the design specs of the protocol. Actually, I was anticipating like a 97.5. That's about a 95, 40 divided by 42, whatever that is. It's 95%, which is the protocol specs. All right. So that's fantastic. And we got DIGI2 over here. He has 15 blocks on chain, 14 blocks on chain. He made 15 blocks. One of them was lost in a slot battle. Digi had, he won a slot battle. He won the slot battle, last 2 slot battles. But let me tell you about slot battles for a minute. They don't matter anymore. Slot battles do not matter at all because they are completely random. They are entirely random. They have nothing to do with the pool performance. So what happened on the ITN taught us some really bad habits. And I'm trying to help you guys break those bad habits. Somebody's got to do it. Y'all know me kind of, so maybe I'm the right guy to help you break bad habits. But when on the ITN, you would see me or other people tweet out and say, hey, I want a slot battle. Well, because on the ITN, the reason pools would win slot battles or not is if they were closer to the geographic center of the earth in relation to the network, or the geographic, what I call the geographic center of the network, which was somewhere between France and Germany at the time on the ITN. And the only way to compensate for that distance to the geographic center was to adjust your time or to purchase a node in Germany or France, London region, just draw a big giant circle around that region. And then you would do better in slot battles. The problem is that would have caused a collapse, or not a collapse, but a concentration or centralization. The entire network would be centered in that area, right? And actually, over time, the entire network would collapse into one big giant cloud server center in one location. That's what would have happened over 4, 5, 6 years because people didn't do slot battles. But so Cardano figured out how to solve that problem. I don't think it was in the original design specs. And the way they solved it is with the checking the VRF hash. If a slot battle does occur, which is 1 out of 20 blocks, a slot battle can occur. 1 out of 20, which gives you the 95%, which is what Digi and DIGI2 are running at, which is perfect. Okay, that's what nodes should be running at, is at 95%. It will average out over time. Okay, so that's what we're looking for there. All right, it's 5:43, so in 2 minutes, I'm going to go over to the relays. I know they're hard to see because I'm on a FaceTime camera. And you can't zoom it, and it's kind of grainy, so I apologize for that. But I'm going to monitor them, and I'll tell you what we're looking at over here. Hello, let me check chat real quick. Hello from Portugal. How you doing? Yeah, Digi's getting those blocks. Yeah, the main factor for blocks and performance now is pledge. Not pledge, correction, stake. Okay, so if a node is set up correctly and it is configured correctly, then the primary factor will be the amount of stake that will determine it, because Cardano has solved all those problems with time and latency and all those blah, blah, blah. All that, the problems we had on the ITN have been solved as far as we can tell based on testing so far. So this, what happens, what I'm about to show you here is 5:44 and 51 seconds, the relays ramp up. The epoch rolls over, the relays ramp up, the processing goes up, the RAM goes up. And some people think they crash. I don't think they crash. I mean, mine don't crash. We tested them. And they don't. And these don't crash. Some people's relays do crash. They reported the relays crash. And that's what 1.19.0 is supposed to solve. All right. So let me show you what's on there. And then the epoch's going to roll over in about 12 seconds. All right. So this relay has 13 peers, 15 peers, 33 peers, 40 peers, 55 peers, and 65 peers. Okay, 65 is a lot. The only reason I can do that is because I have a massive amount of RAM and CPU power. I can run 65 peers. We tested it at 95. We ran it at 95 peers, and it survived the turn of the epoch, but it was brutal. So we throttled it back to 65 peers. The reason that there's a limit of 20 peers is because we calculated it takes about, for every gig of RAM you have, it can withstand about 5 or 6 peers, depending on how long the node's been running. Okay, So we've adjusted the RAM and the CPU power accordingly. Now what we'll see now is ramping up of the CPUs over here. You can probably see it ramping up, okay? And the memory here and the CPUs are ramping up. And let me see how the block producers are doing. Well, I don't have it pulled up on the block producers, all right? But you can see the color bars ramping up, CPU power ramping up as the turn of the epoch takes place. Let me go over here on Daedalus for a moment on this workstation in the middle. I understand. I know it's hard to see. It's a grainy FaceTime camera that I'm using for this. Okay, so the epoch had rolled over just a minute ago. And for the first couple minutes after the epoch rolls over, the CPUs ramp up, more memory gets consumed, and it's crunching data, crunch, 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 right? So then the data crunching, what that does is, I think the reason you'll see relays seem to disappear is because they're using so much memory and compute power to run the Ouroboros protocol and run all the algorithms and stuff like that, all right? And I'm going to let this finish up. So the guy with 15 peers, he's at 13, but that doesn't mean 2 peers out there in the world somewhere. It doesn't mean they died. It just means they're probably busy doing something, so it doesn't see them. The one at 30 is at 27. It was at 30, it dropped down to 27. It was at 32, dropped to 27. This one's down to 40. The one that was at 45 is down to 34 peers. So it went from 45 to 34. And the one that was at 65 is at 54 peers right now. Now it's down to 53. It just counted down to 53 peers. So now it's down to 50. Okay, so it dropped from 65 to 50. All right, so out there in the world, it's losing contact with those peers. It's still running fine. The protocol's still running fine. The relays are still running fine. It's just the peers out there in the world might be either struggling to keep up because of all that CPU power that it uses, or swap space or whatever. And then what will happen, they don't necessarily crash, but they just get busy and then they'll reconnect. And so the one that was on 65 is now down to 48. So it's continuing to drop. Now it's back up to 50. So now it's starting to go up again. You see how that works? Okay, now it's back up to 50. I know you can't see that. 48, 47, 48. So it's bouncing around between 48 and 50. The guy that started off at 15 peers, I call this guy speedy, right? You can do up to 20 peers, but we've got him scaled, 15, what was it? 15, 30, 45, 50, 65, like that. So with only having 15 peers, this relay 1 on .210 bootstraps real quick. If we ever have to restart it, down and up real quick. Or during the turn of the epoch, he's also the fastest one to resync at the tip. Oh, that's another thing I was going to check. Sync to the tip. Yep, they're all in sync. So they're all up in sync and on the tip within a few minutes after the epoch. I don't think Speedy ever dropped off the tip. So I got 15 peers on this guy. So he stays synced. And during that epoch transition, he very quickly gets back on tip or stays on tip during the transition. This guy tends to also, the one in the middle, relay number 2 that's on the .211. And then once you get up to relay 5 and 6, they tend to take a little longer. On the last epoch transition, they took like 35, 40 seconds to get back. Speedy comes back in only a few seconds. He just pauses a little bit and then he's going again, right? So the fewer peers you have, the faster it recovers, the less memory it uses, and so on. It just makes sense. That's how computers work, right? And then I got the beast relay down here with 65 peers, and he's hanging out at 49 now. So we'll see if those peers come back later on. I don't know if they will or not, but yeah, I just wanted to show you guys what that's like, explain it to you, take your questions, let you know how Digital Fortress is set up, so you have a better idea of how it's running, a visual aid, if you will, on how it's running. Right now, there's 1,000 pools. There's well over 1,000 pools. I got that in Daedalus over here. If you have any questions, yeah. 949 showing in Daedalus, and there's 1,000 some showing on Pool Tool. I've got my laptop right over there. So lots of pools on the Cardano network. Any questions in chat? Let me see how it's going. Oh my goodness, there's 118 people here. Hello everyone, how you doing? Let's see. Why did DIGI1 got 40 blocks and DIGI2 got 14? It's from NR8722. Great question. Why did DIGI1 get 40 blocks and why did DIGI2 get 14? Because of the amount of stake. Okay, it is, and that they got the exact number of blocks they were supposed to get based on the amount of stake, the active stake. That's very important. Not the live stake, but the active stake. The graph I got from UMed said that Digi should have got 38 or 39 blocks at the peak. 38 or 39. He actually got 40. He got 42, but 2 of them were slot battles. Now Digi2, so the comparison here, 40 blocks for Digi because he had 178 million stake. Digi2 had 71 million active stake, so he got 14. So the rewards for those 2 pools are going to be about the same. Okay, the rewards will be about the same. The rewards on the bigger pool is going to be distributed among more people, and the rewards on a smaller pool are going to be distributed among fewer people. Okay, so that's why Digi 1 and 2 got that number of blocks, 40 and 14. Okay, let's see here. Any other questions? Great question. Thank you for that. Let's see. El Toro Transport said, my block just exploded. I mean, my head. Rick, did you see D go to 0.8? Yes, Old Pa Sync. Thank you, Old Pa Sync, and great to see you here, sir. D dropped to 0.8 this epoch. Let's check that. Let's see. Good question. All right, so that's under info, I think. Yeah, info. It did. Old Pa Sync. D dropped to 0.8 from 0.9. That means the pools will make 20% of the blocks this epoch. 20% of the blocks will be made by pools. Okay. So it's right there on the screen. If you look in Daedalus, it says 20%. Thank you, Old Pa Sync. Thank you, sir. All right. Let's see what other questions we got here. Okay. Answered the DIGI1-2 question. Shovelhead. Hello, Shovelhead asks, hi, Rick. One question. How we don't lose so much dedicated small pools in the midterm? Oh, that's a good question. Saturation is a way, but maybe it takes too long for many of the small pools which don't get a block every epoch. Yeah. So here's the hazard for the smaller, more modest pools. I don't call them small pools because, like, physically they're the same size and technology they're the same size, but they have modest amount of stake, right? Well, so there's 2 ways of looking at this. One is Lars Brunez was pretty clear when he said about the Pareto distribution, 80-20. It happens all the time. You can't defeat it. There's 1,000 pools. That means out of 1,000 pools, well, we actually have a little over 1,000. There's about 1,050. That means 200 pools are probably going to do well, even though K equals 150. Pareto distribution, all that kind of cool stuff. And that's what we actually just saw on the last epoch is about 250 pools made blocks and about 750 pools did not make blocks because of the stake distribution. So it falls very close within the Pareto distribution. Okay. Now, how do you prevent small pools? Well, it's kind of hard. They gotta market. The individuals that are running the pools with modest stake need to market their pool to draw in stake so that they can make blocks and stay online, or they can just keep running their pool as until they can become successful, or however they want to do it. So kind of, if really the responsibility falls on each individual pool operator to market their pool and provide people the opportunity to delegate and stake to the pool. I know Daedalus tends to help. One thing that doesn't help in Daedalus is the ranking is random. So remember that ranking is random in Daedalus. You can't, I don't know if it's no longer random at this epoch or the next epoch, or the next version of Daedalus, but currently it's random. Okay. So that doesn't really help. But yeah, so small pools market. Some small pools will die off. That's just the fact of life. They'll give up because they'll try to get delegation. They can only get so much, and then at some point they'll give up, and that's just how it is. And that's going to go on forever. And then new pools will come into existence. They'll run better. they'll run gooder, they'll do something magic, and then those pools will become the dominant pools. For example, right? So it'll be a continuous process of new pools coming online and some older pools going offline and no longer existing. That's just how it is. All right. But in the meantime, marketing their pools would be the best thing they can do. Let's see. So let's see. Why is a Daedalus taking from 99 cryptos? Why is a Daedalus taking so long to sync? It's taking me 10 to 20 minutes to load in my wallet. Yeah, good question. 99 cryptos. It takes a long time to sync, partially because of the design. Now, I've heard some people say that at the 98 to 99% point, it takes a while to sync with the blockchain because of that epic transition. I don't necessarily think that's correct, because it already went through that transition. And if I close that wallet and reopen it, it's going to go through the same thing at the 99% mark. But if you're on Windows and you get to the 99% point and it appears stuck, press Control R. If you hit Control, hold down the Control key and press R, it'll refresh. I don't know if it works on Linux. Let me try it on here. If you guys can see that Linux, let me go to the pools, and I'm going to hit Control R. Yeah, and see how it reset? Control R. That resets the interface. So if it's stuck on the interface, that might sort it out if that's the problem. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Depends on, what the problem is. So there is a problem with Daedalus syncing. There's another version of Daedalus coming out probably by the end of the week, so that you can it'll sync faster. It's optimized. So the key is the fix. It doesn't even matter what the problem is. The key is they're trying to optimize Daedalus, right? When they optimize Daedalus, it'll solve that problem. Okay. All right. So let's see. How much rewards does a pool get from Malkydon? How much rewards does a pool get for each slot found? So for each block, currently, each block comes out to about, I think it was 3,000, about 3,000 ADA per block is what it's supposed to be. 26, somewhere between 2,600 and 3,000 per block goes into the entire pool, and then that's distributed among all of the people who are delegating to that pool. Now, we'll know what the real deal is on August 23rd. What you'll notice right now is the Epic just ended, but you don't get your rewards for this Epic today. They're not in there. You don't need to look in Daedalus. They're not going to be there. The Epic that just ended, if you delegated to a pool that makes blocks, you will get the rewards for that on the 28th. And then this Epic will take place, on the 23rd, on August 23rd, the current Epic that just ended, you'll get that on the 23rd. Now we're in a new Epic. You'll get those on the 28th. Then on the 23rd, a new Epic takes place. You'll get those on September 2nd, and so on, and so on, and so on. You just take a 5-day shift and then shift it again 5 more days, and that's when those rewards show up. So basically, I say if you delegate by the end of an Epic, you get the rewards for it 15 days later at the beginning of the Epic, 3 Epics later. That's how it works. Okay. So let's say the number of the month is 10, and you delegated by the time 10 showed up, the date the 10th showed up, and that was the turn of the Epic. If you delegated before 21:45 UTC, if you delegate before that time on the turn of the Epic, your rewards go into effect. 15 days later, you'll get the rewards for that pool. All right. So I hope I answered your question there. Gonsanto said, how many pools produce blocks? I think it was about 240 out of the 1,043 pools. I looked at it last night. I can check it. I can check it on ADA pools. Let me check it on Pool Tool real quick. Let's see. How many pools made blocks? A little over 250. A little over 250. Looks like maybe 260 pools made blocks. I would have to count to precision. All right. Let's see. A transition to Shelley's a slowdown. Yeah, from T. Anderson. Any other questions? Let's see. So From Metal Gear, so the not pool is going to get a reward because not all pools will produce a block. Correct. So if you're delegated to a pool that did not produce a block in the last epoch, you will not get rewards. Okay, so if the pool you're delegated to did 0 blocks, you'll get 0 rewards. Now, unfortunately, for the modestly sized pools, if they lost a slot battle, the only block they had, they lost to a slot battle, then they won't get any rewards. So that's just how it is. That's just how it works. I'm a supporter of smaller pools. I did plenty of videos explaining how the lighter stake works, but in the long run, it's going to, the distribution is going to take effect until K equals some higher number, such as 250 or 500. You're still going to end up with about 200 to 400 performing pools with a K equals 150. Optimum is 150 pools. But we saw on the ITN that pools will keep running even if their rewards are low. They'll keep running and people will hang with them. Okay. All right. Let me see any other questions here. Okay. HJ Alex says, should we delete our Byron wallets from Daedalus? Here's what I would do is if you confirmed that you transferred your ADA from a Byron to a Shelly wallet, yeah, go ahead and delete it. You don't need it. Okay. I still have a Byron wallet on that. That's a test one. So yeah, if once you see that you confirm you have a 0 balance, you have a new 15 or 24 word passphrase for your Shelly wallet. I just did a Daedalus one. It's 24 word passphrase. As long as you have it all in the Shelly wallet, you can delete the Byron wallets and they got a 0 balance. Okay. Just make sure that you positively confirm that is the case, because there are people losing ADA by a couple things that have happened is people either didn't save their 15-word ITN passphrase when they moved it over to the ITN or whatever it was they did when they moved it over. Some people overwrote their keys and that ADA is just kind of lost in the blockchain. It's unrecoverable at that point. Okay. So good question. Make sure you always have those keys. All right. Kaizen, how you doing there? How you doing, Pratesh? Thanks for the live stream. You tried, but still got it sorted. Someone got hungry at my place. Yeah, I'm getting kind of hungry. It's dinner time here in Virginia. Greg Younger's asked, and Gib Guy, is it a constant figure to 3,000 ADA per block? No, that will adjust based on the number of blocks made per epoch, and many different factors go into that. And the D parameter, how many pools actually produce blocks versus how many blocks should have been produced per epoch. We saw it on the ITN. If pools, because the ITN Jormungandr was very finicky software, pools would miss blocks. So the rewards would spill over into the other pools. And the block rewards kept going up and up and up. So if you're making blocks, you're doing great. If you're missing blocks, it's killing you. Fortunately, the Haskell code doesn't have that finicky. It's very stable. It's very normalized. It's running the way code should be running. Okay. Let me see. Any other questions? Anyone here with their ADA stuck in Atomic Wallet? I've heard that before. I don't know anything about Atomic Wallet. I don't use it. I played with it a couple years ago and I haven't messed with it since. Let's see here. Are rewards automatically redelegated each epoch? From Brian Morgan. Yes. Rewards are automatically redelegated. All right. So great question. It's kind of like compounding. So whatever your rewards are, they come back to the wallet you staked from. They're automatically redelegated from that wallet. If you do stake ADA, I'll give you an example. Let's say you stake 1,000 ADA from a wallet and you want to send 500 ADA somewhere else. You can just go ahead and send it. There's nothing else you have to do. Once you send that 500 ADA, the staked amount will automatically become 500 ADA. And that 500 ADA you sent, you can send it to a different wallet and restake it or do whatever, spend it or whatever. So that's the great thing about ADA. It's not locked. I'll give you an example like with EOS, not beating up on EOS, not being tribal here, but to move EOS, once you have it staked, you have to unlock it and you got to wait a period of time until it becomes available to send. All right. Not so with Cardano. It's always liquid. You can stake it, and while it's being staked, you can also send it away. And at the next Epoch transition, it'll check the balance and say, oh, that ADA is moved, and it will recalculate based on that movement. All right. All right. I hope I got everybody's questions. I think I did. If you have any remaining questions, let me know. I'm going to wrap it up. Let me think if I covered everything we needed to hit on here. Yeah, I think I covered everything that I needed to do. The main thing was the relays transition during the turn of the Epoch, so that y'all could see it live and talk about it, because you might hear about it. But the Cardano node release for the pools 1.19.0 is supposed to be out sometime within 14 days from the last release. And that is supposed to have optimizations that allows that makes for an easier turn of the Epoch transition. Something else to think about is Daedalus wallets. Currently, when you bring your Daedalus wallet up, it first contacts the IOHK server. It'll reach out and say, hey, I'm here, and get some data. And the IOHK server will pass some blockchain data to it. It'll pass some peer data, and then it will reach out to other peers. And then these nodes, these relays you see over here, right now they are talking to Daedalus wallets out in the world, up to like 200 per relay, about 200 Daedalus wallets per relay, approximately. It talks to them and it provides the blockchain. And if that Daedalus wallet conducts a transaction, the transaction goes through this relay. I'll give you an example. Right now, these block producers have 29,553 transactions on them. They've been up for 4 days. Okay. So 29,550 transactions. And those transactions came through these relays over here, which came from the Daedalus wallets and the exchanges. So if you send money to and from an exchange, you send ADA to and from an exchange, or you send ADA to and from Daedalus or Yoroi or back and forth, or however you do it, if you just make a transaction, the community relays pick that up and it gets recorded and validated. And then whoever's turn it is to make a block, it collects all those transactions. And then if that pool discovers that, hey, I'm supposed to make this block, it will assemble the transactions into a block and broadcast it out to everybody else. That's the purpose of the relays. So the block producer will put the transactions into the block and sign it with the signing key, send it to the relays, and the relays broadcast it out to the rest of the world. Okay, so that's the general flow. From the Daedalus, Yoroi, the exchanges, it goes through the relays. The block producers keep track of it. The block producers make the block, sign the block, send it back to the relays, broadcast it back out to the rest of the world. Really cool stuff, really cool technology. I'm absolutely fascinated by it. I just love this stuff. It's great. All right, so that's all I got for you. I hope you guys are all good to go with any questions. Let me see more questions. Jeff says, if you have 50,000 ADA, how many different wallets would you make to increase your odds of being in a pool with a block produced? Well, Jeff, there's different ways of looking at that. If you look on ADA pools at pools that have already produced a block and they have enough stake in them already, and you select a pool that produced a block, chances are you'll be in a pool that makes a block. You got to be careful of saturation, though, because if it goes over 206 million, that pool is saturated and your rewards are diminished. But if you want to pick a pool that makes fewer blocks, you might get higher rewards because it's distributed among fewer people. Okay, so the 50,000, you can just put it on one pool. But I've tested Daedalus Flight. I was able to create 20 wallets in it. My current Daedalus, my real Daedalus that I have running over here, has 10 wallets. So you can break your 50,000 ADA into 10 different wallets, whatever denomination you want, and stake to 10 different pools. Okay. And you can pick, you can actually spread it out to moderate your risk and say, all right, I'm going to delegate to a pool that definitely made blocks. So I'll, put 25% of my ADA on a bigger pool that definitely made blocks. And I'll put 25% of my ADA on a mid-size, 25% on a modest pool, and 25% on a lightweight pool. And if you hit on that lightweight pool, you know, boom, you can make bank. It's possible. It's like gambling, but I mean, people in crypto like to have fun. Gambling's fun. I like gambling. And so you might hit and go, wow, I just made a lot of ADA on a little delegation. So you never know. It might be worth it. So you could split it up, split your ADA up into thirds and go big pool, medium pool, small pool, right? That's an example, not financial advice, not financial advice. But yeah, you can split it up and you can make at least 10 wallets. I've done it myself. You can put 10 wallets in Daedalus. All right. So hopefully I answered your question there. Let's see, anything else. Let's see. What happens from Irish Crypto Moonshine? What happens to the Cardano ecosystem if 100% of total ADA is ever staked as a hypothetical? Wow. Well, if 100% of total ADA is staked, then what will happen is rewards will be minimal. Like, let's say the annualized percent is 5%. Then if you staked 100% of the ADA, then the average rewards would be 5%. Then what happens is the further you go below 100%, the less and less ADA that's staked, the higher and higher the rewards get. That's to incentivize people to begin staking again. So at some point it will reach an equilibrium to where between 50 to 80% of the ADA becomes staked. Right now we're at 12.4 billion, I think. I think the only barrier to more ADA being staked is it's either on Yoroi with Ledger or Yoroi with Trezor. Yoroi with Trezor works, though. I've got another video on my channel showing you how to do Yoroi with Trezor. So I think it's either locked up on Yoroi with Ledger because people love Ledger. I like Trezor better, but people love Ledger. And that's probably where it is. Or it's on the exchanges that either can't stake or are not Shelley ready yet. So there's still some ADA locked up out there that is either behind a ledger or it's on an exchange that's not Shelley ready. And so there's going to be more to come. I think we're going to hit 20 billion. That'll give us 2/3. That's 66%. Some people estimated 25 billion. That's a little high. We'll see. We'll see. I'm thinking it's going to hit at least 20 billion though on the staking. Let's see. So Dovatos Pavarenes says, so if I want to switch to a different pool, I lose 5 days reward. No, you can always switch pools and you never lose rewards. You can switch pools anytime you want. And your rewards will remain consistent. Okay. So you can switch pools whenever you want. The only delegation that counts is the delegation at the end of the 5-day epoch when the snapshot occurs. So you can change your delegation 3-4 times this epoch, 5 times, 100 times. It doesn't matter how many times you change your delegation. Each time you do it, you're going to expend a 0.17 ADA transaction fee. The delegation that counts is the one at the transition. Okay. But you will never lose ADA by switching pools. Okay. It'll always be there. Cool. As long as you're delegated, then every 5 days you're going to get rewards based on your delegation. As long as the pool you delegated to produces a block, then you will get rewards. Okay. But we won't know the real numbers until August 23rd. Okay. So if you're with a pool you like, hang with them. See how your rewards come out on the 23rd. Okay. Hopefully I answered your question. I think so. VB Crypto asks, can we make several wallets on Ledger to delegate to multiple pools on ADA Lite? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't use ADA Lite. If you like ADA Lite, but also from what I know on the Ledger, you only get one private public key pair, as far as I know. So I don't know the answer to that question. But if you only have one public key to do a placement on ADA Lite, then I think you can only do one delegation. But I don't know. I don't use ADA Lite, so I can't answer that. Let's see here. King Cardano, 26 million ADA says, When can I stack my 2.6 million ADA, Rick? You could start right now. You could start before August 8th. As long as you delegated, this is also important. I put it out in yesterday's video. As long as you delegated before August 8th, you will get rewards on August 23rd. If you delegated between August 8th and August 18th, after 21:45 on August 8th until right now, if you delegated in that time frame, you will not get rewards on the 23rd. You will get rewards on the 28th, August 28th. Okay, that's very important. People will get the hang of this. It's confusing to do 5-day epochs because I don't have a 5-day calendar in my head. I've got a 7-day calendar, I've got a 24-hour clock, and I've got a 12-month calendar. So the 5 days kind of throws me off, and I got to just think number, maybe someone should make an Apple Watch app or something like that to tell you. So I can look at my watch. Hey, what epoch are we on? Let's see. Tom Lippick asks, what if I remove money from one wallet to another? Are we rewarded on snapshot, or does the ADA have to be in there all 5 days? You're rewarded on a snapshot. The ADA does not have to be in there all 5 days. Great question. Thank you for that. The ADA does not have to stay there all 5 days. It's wherever that ADA is at the time of the snapshot, at the turn of the epoch, at 21:45. It's actually 21:44 and 51 seconds, right? But I just go 21:45. I just kind of round it off. Okay. Hopefully that answered your question. And N18722 says, every ADA is important for the tiny pools. Now, when the D is 20% IG pools, we'll have a lot of ADA stake to them. Yeah. So every little bit of ADA is important to the smaller pools. That is correct. Every little bit helps. There was one pool made a block on like 61,000 ADA. The probability of that happen is low. It's like a 1 in 46 chance, I think, for having that small amount. Yeah, it's like spinning a roulette wheel, and the guy hit a block, and so the rewards from that's going to be pretty cool. We'll find out what it is on the 23rd, but it's probably going to be pretty nice. So let's see. Rizwan Hussein says, "How are you going to get around the saturation problem when they are saturated? And when pools Digi and Digi2 get saturated? Well, if Digi and Digi2 get saturated, I'll open Digi3." Because people have already been asking me to open a Digi3, but it's not time yet. K still equals 150. Digi2 still has plenty of room in it, and it's probably going to be a while. But if Digi2 starts getting in the range of saturation, I'll open up Digi3. I've got tons and tons of horsepower. I can easily run 3 pools. I can run 10 pools if I want. We did a test on MC4 to see how many pools we can run if we only put the relays at a certain throttle and we used all the processing power that we have available. We can run 10 pools at pretty high power. So, yeah, we'll just open up a Digi3. So I hope that answers your question for that. Let's see here. Let's any other questions? Fluxa asks, will there be a DeFi app where you can borrow on your ADA for 4 days until next epoch? That's a good idea there. There will be a DeFi app for that if someone makes it. And with Plutus and Marlowe, the big milestone coming up is Goguen in late November, early December timeframe. Goguen will be out, I think, by the end of the year. Okay. And so apps and dApps like that are feasible. And I played around with the Saturn network with Ethereum Classic and Ethereum, and those guys did some really cool work over there on the Saturn network. People made stakeable tokens and using smart contracts. And you'll see a whole lot of that come to Cardano. You'll see a lot of that come into Cardano. The cool thing with Cardano is it'll be done right, and it won't be done with proof of work. It'll be done with proof of stake. There's about 6 orders of magnitude less power consumed based on some calculations that I did. So, yeah, 6 million times less power used by the Cardano network than the Bitcoin network. And it's faster. So right now the transaction speed is around 30 transactions per second, depending on what the network's doing. And once we get to late Basho scaling and Hydra phases, you're going to see a very significantly higher number, a lot more than 30 transactions per second. I will not pull up the firewall and the network data on here because it's a security risk. But when I look in the firewall and I look at the relays communication processes, they're using about, what was it at? Between 200 and 600 kilobits per second for all of them. Each one was between somewhere around 60 kilobits per second, which is nothing. I can do that with a cell phone, you know? So the data load is very lightweight on the Haskell nodes, very lightweight. Jormungandr was a bit of a strain with the data load, but the Haskell nodes are very lightweight on the network. So I think we're going to see some pretty impressive speeds once we get to the Basho Hydra phase we got going here. Hopefully I answered your question there. Let's see. Has Cardano contacted Ubisoft yet? I don't know. I hope they contact Steam. I'm a Steam guy. I use Steam. I play games. I haven't played games in a while, but I play a lot of games on Steam. And I think that would be a, you know, there might be some use cases there for not just in-game currency, but the actual currency that people purchase things on Steam. Okay, I know because I get to playing games on Steam, and I'd start doing in-game purchases, and I'd say, oh, you know what? I think I'll throw a little bit of more money on there so I can upgrade this little widget or buy something useless in the game. And then at the end of the year, I check my credit card and I go, holy crap, how much money did I spend on that? Yeah, you end up, you get a game for free technically, or you pay $20 up front, but in the long run, you pay $80, you know, after you get into the game. You guys know I'm talking about to play video games. You've done it before. Everyone's done it. If you play video games, everybody's done it. Mohammed Bitcoin Crypto says, my relay crashed at the transfer of the Epoch and stated DB locked, had to kill it and restart. Yeah, that does happen. It's usually the low spec relays. A lot of people are running below. The minimum spec right now is 8 gigabytes per relay. And on a cloud server, 8 gigabytes. Then you got 8 gigabytes for a block producer, and that's 16 gigabytes. And a minimum 2 vCPUs, virtual CPUs, however they allocate those. That's the minimum spec, but you got some people trying to cut corners and save money. They're running 4 gigabytes, 2 vCPUs, 1 vCPU, and the relays crash at the turn of the Epoch. You know, it's inevitable. They're below spec, or they're running very low spec. Right now, I've got these ones throttled to 15 gigabytes per relay, 8 cores per relay, and they handle the Epoch transition fine. But they still throttle up. You know, they got to do more crunching. So if someone's running minimum spec or low spec, they might run into a crash at the turn of the Epoch. So that's a good point you brought up. Thank you for that. And that looks like I got all the questions there. Hopefully I answered all your questions. I'm going to call it a day, go get some dinner, make sure everything is working well on the nodes. Well, that's pretty easy. It's on Haskell, so they're running fine. So I'm going to punch out, everyone. Thanks for hanging with me at Digital Fortress for the relay stress test at the turn of the Epoch. Oh, let's check the relay with 65 peers. Let's see how many peers have recovered, okay? The big guy. So he's back up to 53. So it was at 65 peers before the turn of the Epoch. Some peers out there either restarted or something, but now it's down to 53. And I think over the next couple hours, you'll see it kind of creep back up to 65 peers. The one with 15 is still at 13, so it's still down by 2 out there. So, yeah, I thought it would be just kind of cool if you could visually see that and understand how it's working. I can take questions. So I'm going to punch out. Y'all take care. Have a good evening. Thanks for watching Digital Fortress and hanging out with me. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.